This is Will Tchakirides interviewing Donna Franklin for the HBCU Radio Preservation Project. It is 1:20 p.m. on October 14th, 2025, and this interview is being recorded at KTSU radio station in Houston, Texas. All right, how are you doing today, Miss Franklin?
I'm doing wonderful, Will. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
Cool. So we're going to just start here. Can you tell me and state what your full name is and what your relationship is to KTSU?
My name is Donna Franklin, and I am the program director as well as on-air host. I do a jazz show Monday through Thursday called Colors from 9 a.m. until 12 noon. I am also one of the co-hosts for our News and Public Affairs show on Saturday morning from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. called Impact Houston Live.
Excellent. I look forward to talking about those programs with you. But first, I want to take it all the way back to the beginning of your life. So, if you don't mind telling me just when and where you were born to start?
I was born on the south side of Chicago, Illinois. You want the year? I'll give you the year.
If you don't mind.
The year was 1958. You weren't even thought of, okay? And, yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Can you describe for us, what was the south side of Chicago like? If this is the movie opening up on your life, what am I going to hear? What am I going to see? What am I going to smell? Describe the south side of Chicago.
That was the best era of my life. Growing up on the south side of Chicago was an experience I would never trade for anything in the world. Although we wanted, I am the middle of 6 kids. We wanted to go to a public school, but we were not allowed to go to a public school. We had to go to a Catholic school. And the community growing up on 75th and Carpenter, everybody on that block was our mother and father. It was a unit. I can't even describe it. And I remember in the summertime, we would have block parties where they would put the horses at each end of the street, and all of the neighbors would come out with their table of food. That it was just music, food, and games. And also in the summertime, we would mess with the fire hydrant because it was hot. Didn't nobody have swimming pools? We couldn't even go to a swimming pool. So we would turn the fire hydrants on and cool off. And that was a real thing. And I learned how to play baseball at the end of the street where we would take the rocks at base 1, 2, and 3 right there by the railroad tracks. We would play baseball there. It was just a great time to be a kid. We really didn't understand what was going on because my mother was an activist. She was involved in Jesse Jackson's breadbasket. I remember coming home from school and my mother was just crying because Dr. Martin Luther King had just been shot. When President Kennedy was shot, oh my gosh, rioting was going on all around us. We would have to sleep on the floor with all the lights out, and all you heard was bullets riddling. Even though it was dangerous, it was still a good time to grow up on the south side of Chicago in the 60s.
Yeah, can you say a little bit more about your mother and anyone else who was in your life that raised you? What did these folks do? Where did their people come from? What is that migration story, if there is one?
My mother came from the South. She was born in Cleveland, Mississippi, and her aunt went to Mississippi to get her because her mother was a single mother and my mother was at home by herself and my aunt didn't like that. So my aunt went to Mississippi to bring my mother to a small town called Cairo, Illinois. And she grew up in Cairo, Illinois, and that's where she met my father. And she and my father, well, actually my father went to the Marines, and then he came home. And my uncle had a funeral business in Chicago. And when he came home from the Marines, he worked for his uncle. And then my mother migrated to Chicago to spend time with her cousins. And they went to high school together, and then they met up, and then they married, and the rest was history. Yeah.
And was your father around growing up?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tell me about
My parents were married for 33 years. And we all said this. Who raises all these kids and be married for 33 years and then decide to get a divorce? Who does that? Well, my parents did that. But, yeah, my father, he was an incredible man. My father got into the insurance business at an early age, and then he decided to get into the insurance business. My father started from the bottom at Western Southern Life Insurance Company. And he moved up to a manager and a divisional manager. Next thing you know, we're leaving Chicago because my father got promoted to one of the vice presidents at Western Southern Life, whose home office was in Cincinnati, Ohio. So that's how I got to Cincinnati, Ohio.
And about how old were you at that point?
Oh, I was 13.
And then
I'll never forget that. I was 13. Yes.
that's a big change.
Yeah, it is.
Tell me a little bit more about your siblings. You said you're one of six.
I am. I'm the middle child.
What's the breakdown with?
I have an older brother, and we're all close in age. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to say everybody's age right now. I have an older brother who's 69. My oldest sister is 68, and I'm 67. My parents were busy. And then I have a younger brother who is 65. And then I have twin sisters who will be 60 this year.
Very good.
And my mother's still living.
Wow. And it's awesome. And your mom, you said she was an activist. Are there other aspects of her life? How did she make a living, if she did, or was she busy raising a family the whole time?
And before my father died, he did tell us this, and he was right. He said, the best gift I could have given you kids is your mother. And he did. My mother was an at-home mom, and my mother was a seamstress. We were poor, but we didn't realize that we were poor because we had uniforms. So therefore, we didn't need a whole lot of clothes for the week. We roller skated. Growing up in Chicago, we roller skated all weekend. Saturday, we were roller skating all day long. So we had outfits that we would alternate every other week. I'll wear this outfit, and then the next week I'll wear that. That's all we had, and our roller skates. And we were cool with that. And I never forget, we went on family vacations. You can always tell when she had to tighten up the budget for this vacation. We would have beans for almost a month. That's why I don't eat beans today. It's just not my thing. My daughters love them. I don't. And that was her way of making things work. She made things work. But here's the beautiful part about that. Going to a Catholic school, we would have, I'm going to tell you what she gave us every morning, a slice of orange and a teaspoon of cod liver oil to go to school. We were rarely sick, and that's what did it. And then we would come home, and we would have a hot lunch. Then we'd have to walk back to school. And then we would come home from school, and she would either make homemade donuts, homemade pastries, muffin, or whatever to tie us over for dinner. Yeah.
Now, thinking about the community in Chicago before you moved at 13, what were the institutions that kept folks together? Was there involvement in the church? Were there social organizations? Maybe speaking to your mother's activism?
I can't answer for the church because in our house, we were Catholic. Mm-hmm. So it was not a question. You're going to church. And the Catholic Church was different than your other denominations. We'd go to church, and it was a ritual. We would go to church, 45 minutes, walk to church, come home. If we wanted to partake in any activity that was happening during the week, we had to go to church. Now, as far as any activism, It wasn't when I was growing up, and I went to St. Sabina. When I was growing up, St. Sabina was predominantly white. We were one of two black families that went to that school and that church, so we really didn't.
Yeah.
We were kind of sheltered in that part.
No worries.
But my mother was always, she stayed up on what was happening. She couldn't leave. She didn't leave to go and get involved because she had all these kids, and we were all stair steps. So she was basically at home, but she was aware of what was going on.
And you mentioned Operation Breadbasket.
Yeah.
How has your mother reflected on that time as she's aged?
She loves it. She remembers that time, and she is 92, and some things she remembers and some she doesn't. But she remembers Reverend Jesse Jackson. Yes.
Yeah. Now, South Side of Chicago is steeped in a rich musical tradition, black music, blues, jazz. You know.
Right.
Curtis Mayfield comes to my mind first, always, staple singers, these kind of legendary artists. You know, what, and you were young in the South Side, but what do you recall in terms of the music and the life of the community in that way?
Best music on the planet. That's where I fell in love with radio. I'll never forget falling in love with radio at the age of 7.
Tell me about that.
Oh, my gosh. I would listen to the radio. Now, this is where my family differs, and we all love music. But my mother loved R&B. She was an R&B person. When my father got home from work, Stan Kenton, Jimmy Smith, he was straight jazz. He didn't want to hear that other stuff. When he came home, it was jazz. So I said, okay. So that's where my love for both of them came from. But that music during that time, there's nothing like it. Nothing like Motown, all of it. It was just phenomenal. And I would listen to WVON. I grew up on WVON. Yeah.
And say more about that station and what you recall of WVON.
It was the women. When I would hear the women on WVON, I would just, my mind now, since being in this business, I know that radio is a theater of the mind. So therefore, I'm listening to these women, and one woman in particular, I just loved her every time she came on. I still remember her name. She did middays, LaDonna Tittle in the Middle. I thought she was fabulous. Now, my mother never wore a pair of jeans. My mother was a seamstress. She never wore a pair of jeans until she got to be 50 years old. My mother would go to the grocery store with heels, stockings, dress, and all made up. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. So I'm listening to these women on air. So they sound so elegant and they're just so on point. I'm talking myself out of this because I'm listening to them going, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. And then I'm going, no, because then I know they're in there dressed up like my mother. I don't want to do that because I'm just regular. I used to be outside playing with my brothers because I'm not the girly girl. That just wasn't me. And I was like, I don't want to do that because then I'm going to have to get my hair done and wear makeup. And I don't want to do that. But listening to them, those women and men, and the love of music that has been in my heart since I was 7 years old.
And these were black women on radio?
Yes. It was a black radio station, yes.
And it was a black-owned radio station?
Black AM, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. That's a big deal because that was really early, right? Pretty early in the game. Okay, so do you recall sort of what issues mattered to your community in Chicago the most growing up? Might be a social issue, could be an issue like safety or something along those lines in the community. But what did it seem like your folks and your siblings were most concerned about?
Well, I can honestly tell you what urged us to leave Chicago.
Yeah, talk about that.
My oldest brother got approached by one of the gangs, Blackstone Rangers, and they were trying to recruit him to be a member of the gang. And that's when my mother said, no, it's time to go.
Hmm. And what was your mom's plan?
My father could have either stayed where he was with Western and Southern, moved to L.A., or moved to Cincinnati. She chose Cincinnati.
And what was it about Cincinnati?
I don't know.
Was it any closer to family, or was it?
No, I don't know why she chose Cincinnati. We don't know.
Okay.
Because all we knew is we got to move. That's all we knew. Yeah. They kind of kept us away from a lot of stuff until we got older.
Okay, so talk about Cincinnati. What did you make of that place? How did it differ from your life in Chicago?
Oh, my God. That was like night and day. It was, okay, so we left this neighborhood that was all black, okay? It was all black. It was all of us. We were one big happy family on 75th and Carpenter. Everybody got along. Everybody. It was no issue. It was just who we were. Yeah. So then you elevate. That's what I'm going to use. Then you elevate and you move to Cincinnati. And the reason why we were so excited about moving there, because my father tricked us, and he told us we're gonna have it's a big house with a big swimming pool in the back. And we were like, a swimming? We gonna have our own swim? We were so ready to go. We were like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. Well, that wasn't the case. However, it was a big house. And it was a secluded neighborhood that was the golf course was right across the street. So we kind of elevated a lot with his promotion. And this was not a predominantly black neighborhood, but predominantly white.
What neighborhood was it?
It was called Paddock Hills. And it still exists. It's still secluded. After all these years, it's still secluded. And then the rumor was, I'm gonna share the rumor when we first moved there. They thought that my father was a drug addict because how you gonna be black with all these kids and afford to live up here?
They thought he was a dealer.
Yes.
Oh.
Not a drug addict, a drug dealer. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do any encounters stick out in your mind, maybe that your parents had with folks in the community, or maybe that you had that you can personally share?
Oh my God, to get used to a black family with 6 kids, because there wasn't a black family in the area with 6 kids from Chicago. No, and so we were kind of like different, but we then slowly but surely the community kind of migrated, and you started seeing more black families move in, but none of them had 6 kids. But they were moving in, and there was nothing for us to do. I remember this one time. There's really nothing for us to do. We couldn't do anything. Well, so we just walk around the neighborhood or sit in front of the neighborhood, but you had this group of black kids that are just walking around the neighborhood, and they're like, who are they? What are they going to do? So then we found a place to hang out. We found a place to hang out on the mailbox. So we would all congregate on the corner and be on the mailbox. Well, guess what they did? They moved the mailbox. They were like, nope, not going to do that. So then we had nowhere else to hang out. We would just kind of be at each other's house.
And how about the schooling system and in high school? What stands out from that time going to school?
I had a good time. I went to Woodward High School. I enjoyed my high school years. I enjoyed it. I was a member of the drill team. I tried to do track. That didn't work. I don't know why I tried to do that, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
What subjects do you think you excelled at? Is there anything that helped inform your future broadcasting career that
No.
you did in high school?
No. Have you ever met somebody who, you don't like school, but you're kind of smart and you can kind of do things, but you really don't like school because it's in the way?
I can relate. Yeah.
That would be me. That would be me. And I said, I don't want to do this. All I want to do, and I would go to my father's office, all I want to do is be an executive secretary. I don't want to do nothing else. Because I used to love to go to my father's office and look at the women typing, and they would just be all dressed up. I don't know why. I was like, oh, they dressed up, but I don't want to dress up. But I like how they just type and whatever and did what they think. So I said, I'm going to be a executive secretary. Well, I took that trade up in high school. And I got a job. But don't tell me how to dress. And don't tell me I need to wear makeup. Well, my first job out of high school, I was a receptionist. Because my father said, you're either going to go to college or you're going to get a job. You're not going to just sit in this house. It's not going to happen. Well, I didn't want to go to college because I really didn't like school. It was in the way. So I said, let me get this job. Well, after the job, my boss said, you're the first person they see when they walk in here. I'm like, okay. You need to wear makeup and you need to dress up more. Really? I'm not doing that. Mm-mm. So what happens? You get fired from the first job you ever had. And guess what? I've never gotten fired from another job, ever.
Yeah, well, what was the lesson you took away from that?
The lesson is getting fired does not feel good. And you got a car note. So they come repossess your car and they're like, wait a minute. You get fired and all of this is taken away from you and nobody's going to help you. No, because you had a job. All you had to do was do what he asked you to do. But I was so divine. I'm not doing it. No, I'm not doing it. So that was just do what they ask you to do.
I meant to ask also, when you were growing up in Chicago or maybe when you moved to Cincinnati as well, would your family travel back to Mississippi frequently to see family?
Oh, yeah. I remember when we first met my grandmother. Oh, my gosh.
Talk about that.
When we first met my grandmother, we were all like, wow. So this is who you look like. My oldest brother and my sister favored my grandmother. So we're in Mississippi. And my grandmother was cooking dinner. And she made this big old pound cake with about 12 sticks of butter. And we're eating this food. And we look at my mother and we go, how come you don't cook like this? And she said, I never said I could cook like my mother. My grandmother was a cook. Come to find out that my grandmother was the cook in Cleveland, Mississippi at one of the elementary schools. And all the elementary school students that grew up, they knew my grandmother because my grandmother could cook. She cooked for them.
Wow.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And anything else stand out in terms of the difference between the city of Chicago and Mississippi? And just it's such a stark contrast, right, in Cleveland?
It is. I try. Yeah, I look. Being from the Midwest,
Yeah.
and then you're going to the South, and you're looking around like, I don't like this because it's different. It's different. The regions are different, and that's when I realized, no, I don't want to live in the South. Mm-mm. Y'all got too many restrictions, and all of those restrictions that they had in the South, we didn't grow up like that. We knew they were around, but growing up in the south side of Chicago, we didn't see white people until we went to school. They weren't living
Yes.
in my neighborhood. Yeah.
I'm thinking about the Black Midwest a lot lately. Been reading a new book that came out.
It was different.
Great book called Midwest Unrest that actually looks at Cincinnati as one of the places. But, what to you is the Black Midwest, and how do you characterize it against other Black areas?
It was free. We were free. We didn't know that we couldn't go here and don't go there and can't do that. We didn't know that. And we grew up. Like I said, I was born in 1958. And I grew up in the 60s. I didn't know all of that existed. It was like we were sheltered from all of that. Even though I went to a predominantly white Catholic school, still didn't know that. Still did not know that.
Yeah. It's interesting to think about the different kinds of expectations in different regions of the country. Or just, Let's see. So Cincinnati, and you had been working as a receptionist. That didn't pan out.
No, I got fired.
And how did you sort of pick yourself up and move on to the next thing? And what was that?
Oh my gosh. During that time, I didn't know who I was. I'm trying to find out who is Donna.
How'd you do that?
I went through so many changes because I didn't know who she was. I knew I was artsy. And I knew I was creative. And I knew I liked being free. I had this thing that I really wanted to be a secretary. I don't know why that stuck with me. But I did, but I couldn't get a job. So then I just said, I'm going to go to school, college. That's not what I really wanted to do. So my sister was going to Delta State. She graduated and went to Delta State in Cleveland, Mississippi, and she stayed with my grandmother and graduated from Delta State. I said, I'm going to go down here. And I got down here and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. I said, I'm going home. Registered for school, had school. I was like, nope, I'm going back home. Got on the bus, came right back home. I don't want to do this. So I went to this trade school to sharpen up my skills on dictation and typing. And then I went to take this test, and I'm coming to find out testing and me are not friends. I realized a lot about me that when I'm getting ready to take a test, especially typing. Now, I type 90 words a minute. I was good at it. But when I heard the bell, the click, 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 getting ready to start, it's time, go, my fingers were like lead. Couldn't type. So I figured it out that if you go behind there and just let me start typing, I'm going to get it. And I found that about myself. Testing and I are not. When you tell me it's a test, something happens in my brain and I freeze. And I think that's the creative side of me. I'm just not on that. Don't want to do that. So then my sister decided to go to nursing school. And she said, Donna, now I already had the twins. They graduated and they moved. They came here to Texas Southern University to come to school. And because my sister was leaving Denton, because she graduated from Delta State and then she went to school of nursing. So then she was doing her training here in Houston. So she said, well, Donna, come on and go to Texas Southern with the girls and we'll all get an apartment and stay. Okay. That didn't work either.
But that was your first time traveling to Houston at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was like, nope, I don't want to do this either.
Okay.
I kept trying to go to school, but it just wasn't working for me. I was like, nope, I don't want to do school. So I was like, okay. So I went back home.
Well, what did you think of Houston that first time you came down?
It was cool. I didn't have, because it was like a big city. It was cool. I really didn't meet anybody. Oh, yes, I did. I worked at Casual Corner, and I met these two friends Sylvia and Adriana, and they taught me real live authentic Mexican food. That's where I learned how to eat authentic Mexican food, and that's when I had a real love of beans, the way they made them, because the way but I don't do that still. But yeah, but then I decided I don't want to be here. And at the end of the day, I figured out why I would do all of these things and I wouldn't complete them and be like, no, this is not what I wanted to do. I'm about to shock you with what I'm going to say. I missed my mother. I wanted to go home with my mother. Now, remember, I was the middle child. So my oldest brother, my oldest sister, and then I came. And then here comes my younger brother, and then the twins. So I kind of got lost in the shuffle. I didn't really have that time to spend with my mother. Well, this was my opportunity. I was like, whoa, everybody's gone. I'm going to go be with my mommy. And that was it. I realized that that's not, I want to go home and be with my mother.
So it's just the two of you back in Cincinnati?
Yeah.
And what are you doing at that time? How are you thinking through who this Donna person is?
I'm still trying to figure out, what do you want to do? I couldn't find a job, even though I had these incredible skills. I couldn't find a job. The only job I could find was at Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Okay.
Oh my God. To come home every day and smell like fried chicken grease, that was not it for me. So I decided to quit that job. I said, let me quit this job. I can't do this no more. I quit that job. And then this company called General Electric Aircraft Engine Business Group was hiring. I didn't have enough skills for them. So what I did was I went to Cincinnati State and Technical College. I can give college 2 years, but I'm not going to give no more than that because I don't like school. So 2 years and I graduated. I went and got a job at GE, getting paid once a week. Life is good. I'm making money. I'm doing what I wanted to do. I'm a secretary for 15 engineers. I'm having the time of my life, meeting all kind of people. And I'm in my 20s. And I'm like, okay, this works. I finally figured out what I wanted to do. Bought an incredible, cute sports car, Toyota MR2. I ordered it because I was making money. Got personalized license plate. It was the number 4. And what can you tell me? Nothing. But guess what? I still wasn't satisfied. I was not satisfied. So then after a couple of years, I decided I'm going to go back to school. That keeps coming. I keep trying to go back to school, right? So I went to Xavier University, which was right around the corner from where I grew up. I said, let me go to Xavier. I'm going to take an educational leave of absence from GE because I was getting bored with that. I was getting real bored because I'm not the kind that, here, you have this work to do, and then you take all day to do this work. I can't do that. If I have work to do, give me the work. I'm going to finish it and do it. And so then I got the whole day, and I'm like this. What am I doing? To me, I was like, I was bored. So I decided to take a leave of absence. And then I looked up, and I was like, how you going to pay your car note? I don't know. I didn't think that far. Okay, you need to go back to work. So
this is like the mid-1980s around there? Or?
Yeah, well, no, this is like, late 80s.
Late 80s, okay.
Early 90s. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going back to work. Okay, let me go back to work. So I went back to work because I liked my car. I didn't want nothing to happen to my little sports car. It was cute. Yeah. So I went back to work, and then I met this man at a wedding. My mother, I told you, is a seamstress. And my mother made and designed bridal gowns. And she was working on this one lady's bridal gown. And while she did that, I was also a bridal coordinator. So I would coordinate the wedding, and she would do that. So I met this man at this wedding. He's from where? Chicago. So I was like, okay. I wasn't interested, though, but whatever. I said, I go to Chicago quite a bit. Me and my mother, we drive up in my little car. You know, it's only 4 hours. So I said, yeah. So I'll just meet you when I get up there. And, yeah, okay. And that's the next thing I know. It turned into this full-blown thing. And he says, 18 months from this day, you are going to be my wife. I was like, what? By then, I'm in my 30s, right? Who else asked me to marry him? Nobody. I was like, okay, let me go ahead and do this, because this might be the only chance I'm going to get this, right? I'm not going to get it again. And I want to be the wife. I want to be the mom. I want the dog. I want all that, okay? So we get married. And I'm doing good.
Back up in Chicago?
No, I wasn't. While we were dating, it was whether or not I was going to move to Chicago or stay in Cincinnati. Well, I already had a job in Cincinnati. And he had gone back to school to finish his degree. And he got a Ruthberg Scholar to go to University of Chicago to get his master's. All he can think about is coming to Cincinnati and marrying me. And I didn't want to move to Chicago because it was like, oh, no, it's not enough sun. And in the wintertime, it's like gray, boring, and dull. All right, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So he moved to Cincinnati. We got married, had a beautiful daughter, and life was good until the rug got pulled from up under us. GE was doing a massive layoff. And they were paying people to go back to school to find another career because this was not coming back the way it used to be. I was like, oh, boy. So I'm sitting, I'll never forget this. I was sitting watching TV in the middle of the night, breastfeeding my daughter. And this commercial came on and said, you too can be in broadcasting. Simply call da-da-da-da. I was like, that's what I want to do.
It felt natural.
Yes. That's what I want to do. And so I discussed it with my husband. And he said, they're paying you to go back to school with that? I said, yes. I'm going to get paid to learn this. And he was like, go do it. And the rest is history.
And what year was that?
I can tell you how old I was.
Okay.
I was 35. And all of these years, trying to find out what it is that I wanted to do. I didn't want to do this, didn't want to do that. It was to get to that part.
It was the missing piece.
That was the missing piece.
And do you think you're a middle child, right? And,
Right.
and middle children stereotypically, right? They're looking for attention. They're often sort of dramatic, acting.
That would
out,
be me. That would be me.
Communicating.
Yes, that's
There's
me.
something to it.
Mm-hmm. It is.
That's awesome. So we're talking. It sounds like about the mid '90s.
Yes,
early
early 90s, yeah.
Early 90s.
Because I got married in 91, and my daughter was born in 92. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And talk a little bit about what your early experiences are in radio broadcasting. Was it immediately radio, or were there other aspects of broadcasting that interested
I didn't want
you?
nothing else.
Okay.
So I went to the Ohio Center for Broadcasting to learn that trade. And the director, who used to be at this adult contemporary station called Warm 98 in Cincinnati, he desperately wanted me to be at that station. I was like, I don't want to go there. I have a station that I want to be at. And the station I wanted to be at was an AM black-owned radio station called WCIN. That was the station. I wanted to be there. I went there and said, I'm at the Ohio Center for Broadcasting, and I am will be graduating soon, and I'm looking for a job. And when I went in to talk to them, they said, "You got a job. As soon as you finish with them, you're coming here." I was like, "Wow, that was easy." But I also, during intern, I also interned at the #1 country station in Cincinnati, B105. It was incredible. And that's when my love for country music came about. So I'm working at WCIN learning everything. Once I got into this business, I didn't want to let it go. And I learned everything. I started out as a news anchor, afternoon news anchor, and I soon realized I don't want to do that because of a story that I had to write of this 2-year-old baby in this high-rise apartment building leaned on the screen and fell to his death, and I had a baby at home. And my mother used to listen to me every day, and she said, "Donna, you cannot put your feelings in that." And I said, "Mommy, I can't do this. I cannot do that. All I can think about is that baby, and I'm thinking about my baby. I don't want to do news." I said, I want to be on air, not the news part, because the news, I can't do it. And I learned then I don't want to do news. So he took me out of the news, and I became on air. In the meantime, I'm pregnant with another child. Before I left the news, I had already miscarried one baby interning. And I got pregnant again, and I said, I don't want to lose this child, so I'm going to take a break from this, and after I have the baby, can I come back? And he said, "You're more than welcome to come back." So in my mind, I'm going to take a break from this, and my second child, I'm just going to breastfeed her until she's 12 months old. Wrong. That was what I wanted to do. But after 3 months, I'm ready to go back to work. I'm ready to get back to work. So I contacted WCIN. They said, "Yeah, come on back." And they found a place for me. And I've loved every minute of it. I've learned so much from those who worked at the radio station. They were all my idols.
Yeah, who were some of the mentors at
Oh
the
my
station?
gosh. Lincoln Ware, Everett Court, God rest his soul. Marsha Robinson. Marsha Robinson was impeccable. She used to work at WCIN, and she was on Fountain Square doing something, and somebody from L.A. recognized her. Next thing I know, she was gone to L.A. and was out at L.A. on billboards and everything else. Her voice and the way she came across was like butter. I was like, wow. And yeah.
And how many other women were there at the station? Was it Marsha and you, or was it feeling like a good time for women in radio?
No, it still wasn't a good time for women.
Talk about it.
And it's still not.
Mm-hmm. Tell me.
It's still not.
Talk about the challenges you faced as a woman coming into radio in the mid-'90s there.
Number one, there's a look that you have to have. You had to, now remember, I just had 2 kids. Actually, I had 2 kids, 1 miscarriage, so my body is all out of whack. Everything is out. And I'm in my mid-30s. I'm not 20 trying to get back. I had all of that against me. So, yeah, she was a little thick. And that was not the look. They wanted somebody with a Coke bottle figure and all this and all of that. And you had to have that look. I didn't have that look. I had the voice, but I didn't have that look. So I fought it on all kind of levels. The discrimination for women. And let me get back to that. Because what's happening to women today, I cannot believe we are going through this again. And that wasn't that long ago. I'm like, gee. So I'm going to fast forward. Because in the 90s, technology was taking off like you would not believe. So technology is changing like the speed of lightning. And WCIN was a black-owned AM radio station that did not have the capital to keep up like the corporations. Back then it was AM FM, which turned out to be Clear Channel, which is iHeartMedia, all of that.
But it was independent at that time?
No, they were a corporation. No,
okay.
they weren't.
They were part of Clear Channel?
Yes. So he didn't have that kind of money to keep up with that. But I wanted to learn that. I wanted to learn this new technology because we didn't even have new technology at the AM station. We didn't have that. So there was a job opening that came at one of the top country station in Cincinnati. And I ran across this man on Facebook. And I was like, I ran across this man a couple of months ago, and I sent him a message. I said, Tim Clausen, I don't know if you remember me, but I will never forget you. You gave me an opportunity to enhance my radio skills because I applied for a job overnight on weekends because I was already working at WCIN, overnight on weekends at B105. And he told me, he said, Donna, you have the talent, but you have not been taught how to use it. I went, whoa. Now, this is a white man telling me this. I'm looking at him. I said, Donna, don't get mad. I'm looking at him. I said, okay, teach me. He said, you ready to be taught? I said, yes, teach me. Good times, great country, B105. That was me. You didn't know if I was black, white, orange, yellow, what?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because radio can be this kind of democratizing force, a force that strips away race or some of these visible identifiers. So, like, I've heard from other women in the world of black radio and in the world of HBCU radio, and they would encounter listeners in person, and their listeners would be like, oh, that's you? Like, did you ever have a situation like that where
I'm getting ready to tell you.
Oh, okay.
So my husband at the time, they were laying off teachers. Mm-hmm. And my sisters who were here in Houston said they're looking for teachers. Okay. So he said, we're getting ready to move. We're going to Houston. I said, okay. So I put in all this application for almost a year trying to find a job. Nobody would even say thank you. But no, I didn't get not one response. Tim Clausen made a call down here to Mark Sherman at Sunny 99.1. And I didn't even have to interview for that job. Mark Sherman hired me just like that. And I was hired for Smooth Jazz Saturday night. Before I left B105, my last night, I got a call. Can I ask you a question? I said, sure. Are you black? I said, does it matter? I just want to know, are you black? I said, I'm trying to figure out why you asking me that question. Because I need to know if you are black. Okay, I'm going to answer that for you. Yes, I am black. How dare you come on our airwaves? This is our station. You have no business being on that station. I want you off. I said, luckily, this is my last day. Bye. And I hung up the phone. I went, wow. I said, yeah, Cincinnati, deuces. I'm out. You know, y'all can have this. Yeah.
Had you ever experienced anything like that before in radio?
No.
Yeah.
The country stations back in the 90s, they were serious about not letting black people on those airwaves, not even on the airways, barely playing the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to say that, racism is exclusive to any place in this country, but I think people forget that Cincinnati really is right on the border there with the South.
Cincinnati is a German town. I can say it because I live there. Mm-hmm. It is a very German town, very racist. And it is.
Mm-hmm. It is.
It is.
And it's a specific, it's right over the bridge from Kentucky.
Boom. There you have it. Yes.
Not to say that Chicago, as you were talking about, is...
But the thing about Chicago is they have their silos.
Right.
The north side is this, the west side is that, the east side is this, and the south side is that.
And and Black Chicago is a robust community and presence. And
Yes, it is.
Self-sufficient presence in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so... you do get that job, though, at Sunny in Houston.
Yeah, I do.
What year is that about? What are we talking?
I moved here in 1999.
Okay, so we're about to enter the new millennium. You got a new thing going here in Houston. Tell me about the Houston that you encounter when you get here in 99.
It wasn't cute. It wasn't cute because I never wanted to work for AM/FM Clear Channel because I knew what it was about. It was not, granted, B105, Tim Clausen, he was the vice president of all country stations for AM/FM. But I knew what that was about. It's the good old boy club. It was the good old boys club. And you wasn't getting in if you weren't European. I call them Europeans now. So
there's Black Europeans, though.
Yeah, that's true, too. So I wound up working there, and it was like, It was good, but it was discrimination there, too.
And how did that manifest? Where did you see it?
A certain young lady left to take a job somewhere else. That job didn't manifest. So when she left to take a job somewhere else, I was looking for more money, and because I was only making $10 an hour. Yeah. And I was looking for more money, and I can get more money doing more responsibilities. So I started doing production. I started doing appearances, and I was like, okay. Well, that job didn't work out for her. She came back. Everything was taken away from me because she's back now, so you go back to doing what you're doing. I was like, where they do that at? I said, okay. To me, that was wrong. That was wrong. It's not my fault that she didn't make it over there. It ain't had nothing to do with that. You the one wanted to go. You went. Didn't work out for you. Now you're going to come back. It was wrong. But there was nothing I can do because I was part-time. And I said, okay. And sometimes all you have to do is sit back and wait. So I just sat back and I waited. And another radio station came in town. Smooth Jazz, 95.7 The Wave. I'm going through a divorce now, right? And they're looking for me. And my soon-to-be ex-husband didn't give me the message. I didn't know they was looking for me.
Oh.
So I finally, Donna McKenzie finally reached out and says, girl, where you been? Maxine is looking for you. They trying to get you on over here. I was like, what? Next thing you know, I went to 95.7 The Wave with more money. And that was an incredible journey. That enhanced my growth in this business. I started out part-time. And the talent that I was surrounded by that was on the air, I was intrigued by all of them because they've been in the business for a minute. And I'm steady looking at them, and I'm studying them. So the morning show opened, and I was like, I've been doing this for like 4 years. I said, I want to do that. So my program director, who I still love to this day, that is a remarkable, talented lady. Her name is Maxine Todd. Two people in my life I'll never forget. Tim Clausen, Maxine Todd. I went to her and said, Maxine, I would like to apply for this job. You know what she said? I've been waiting for you to come to me and tell me that's what you want. Go get it, Donna. I went, oh, what? So then I went through the interview process. And next thing you know, here this black woman is who's always wanted to be in radio since she was 7 years old, but didn't have the confidence enough to go ahead and pursue that until she got middle age, like 35, and decided to go ahead and pursue it. Became the first black female to host a solo morning show in this market. Mm-hmm. That was hard for me to wrap my brain around, and it still is to this day. Because you mentioned that I forgot about it.
Yeah,
I forgot about it, and it was good until it wasn't. They flipped the format. I was like, wow.
Away from smooth jazz.
Yeah.
What did it turn to?
Something crazy. Oh, New Jack. It was a new format called New Jack, where they had all of these different genres blended together, and it didn't work.
Oh, okay.
So at that time, I had just built a new house too. Making that I built a brand new house for me and my daughters.
Where are you living in Houston?
Spring. Mm-hmm. And so I built a brand new house for me and my daughters, and they got to pick the lot, and they got to see the house being built, and I felt so good that I was able to do that for them because I'm now divorced, single mom. So now the wave is gone, and I'm like, what am I going to do now?
Well,
go ahead.
Just before we leave the wave, tell me a little bit, when you're hosting this morning show, how you are thinking about your listeners and ways that you intentionally look to connect with them, or to maybe you can describe what the listener identity is of your morning show. Like who is listening, and how are you connecting with these
Those
folks?
are jazz lovers. And jazz lovers, I've learned in this business that there's a way that you have to talk to people. You can't talk at them. You have to talk to them. And jazz people are on a whole different level than other radio listeners. They're very articulate. They're very intelligent. They're degreed. They're high-powered. They're all of this. Those are the jazz listeners. So you can't sugarcoat nothing with them. You have to be upfront, direct, and most of all, be yourself and be honest.
And is the morning show, is it also talk, or is it
No,
all music?
we were music intense. When jazz people don't want you talking to them. If they tune in to listen to some jazz, that's what they want to hear. They don't want to hear all this talking and stuff, no. Mm-mm. But I would do the breaks, and the breaks would be short and sweet, and that's it.
Okay. And what times does a morning program run?
That was from 6 until 10.
Okay, so it's drive time. And
yeah.
It's a choice slot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, so moving on from the wave, it sounds like.
Yeah.
At some point with that format change.
Yeah, the format changed. And I don't know. I wasn't prepared for that. Didn't really see it coming. But never got fired in radio. And to me, that felt like I was fired because they flipped the format, but I didn't have anything to do with that. And to me, that was a blessing as I look back on my career, and never been fired was a blessing. So then I'm sitting here not really worried because the package that they gave us.
Severance package?
Yeah. I was okay with that. I kind of stayed home and was trying to figure out where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. I didn't know because this is all I ever wanted. This is the only thing that made me happy. If you remember going back, I would always start something and be like, no, I don't want to do this. No, this is not what I want to do. No. And because at 7, I said I wanted to be a radio personality.
What do you think it is exactly about this that makes you feel so happy?
Because I get to put a smile on somebody's face. I get to touch somebody musically. And I get to possibly turn your life around where you think this is not what it is or whatever you're going through. And then you hear this one song that resonates through you. And all I wanted to do was touch one person to make them happy.
And is that something you just know is happening, or do you get feedback on how it's resonating?
I get feedback on that, yeah. I get feedback.
Okay, so I think it's around 07 or 08 when you're leaving.
07. Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so what are you thinking about next?
I wasn't thinking about anything.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? I don't know. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no clue. But I was hosting every weekend at this jazz club downtown Houston called the Red Cat Jazz Cafe. I would host there every Friday and Saturday night for 10 years.
And what does that mean to host? What do you actually do?
I introduce I welcome the people, introduce the artist, handle what's going on.
Do you curate the artists coming in at all or anything?
No, no. But I knew all of them. I all of the local artists here in Houston, I met through there, through hosting at the Red Cat Jazz Cafe. And Houston has some incredible artists.
Can you speak to Houston's jazz scene a little bit?
Houston is not a jazz city. But Houston has a ton of jazz artists. Make that make sense. I can't. There's so many artists. Okay. The radio station and the jazz ensemble and the TSU choir, we go to Monterey Jazz Festival every year. And we get a chance to interview the artists. It's an incredible festival. I'm just so glad that I'm honored that I've been there for 7 years now. But all of the artists, they say, I want to come to Houston. They all want to come to Houston and perform. But the issue is they don't want to come, and promoters are not going to lose their shirt on getting people to buy tickets. It's weird. But we have a lot of jazz artists. Ask me how many jazz clubs we have.
How many jazz clubs we have?
You hear those crickets?
So you're saying there are artists here, but the consumer, the listener, is not. There's not. An
We
audience.
don't understand what that is. And the minute we find out what that dynamic is, then we can work. Now, what KTSU does, we've partnered with Discovery Green Conservancy, and there's a music thing that we do for 3 months, March, April, and May, and it's jazz, it's blues, a little R&B, but it's mostly jazz. People come out for that. It's free. They come out for that. But to go somewhere and to have a concert with some of the top name artists, it breaks your heart that it's not sold out. Yeah. And I don't understand why. I don't understand it.
Well, you mentioned KTSU. Let's talk about KTSU and how you got to this station. What is that story?
That story is very unique. So I'm hosting at the Red Cat one Friday night. So Donna, what are you going to do now that the wave is no longer? I said, I don't know. I have no clue. I haven't wrapped my brain around it. I don't know. Well, you need to come work where I'm working. And where are you working at? He said, well, I'm at Texas Southern, but I want you to come to KTSU. I said, I don't want to go there. Why not? I said, nope. Mm-mm. I said, and what do you have to do with that anyway? He said, you still don't know who I am. No. I know you come in here a lot to listen to the music. He said, I'm the new president of Texas Southern University. I went, what? What? I never knew that was him. I didn't know he was that. He just liked jazz. I've been seeing him around. He's just a jazz person. I said, okay, well, if you can make that happen, then make it happen. He made it happen.
This is President Rudley?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what had you heard of KTSU beforehand, or did you ever listen?
Yes.
Tell me what you heard before you came to TSU.
When I moved to Houston, there's one person that I used to love. Maurice Hope Thompson. He was the news and public affairs guy. Oh my gosh. He was incredible. I loved his show. He passed. I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet him before he passed. I loved him. But I really wasn't crazy about the programming. But Sunday gospel, I love Sunday gospel. But the programming during the week was not, I wasn't crazy.
Well, tell me about the public affairs program that you loved. Like what kind of issues were covered? What does it mean
All
to have a public
issues.
affairs program in Houston?
When you because there's a lot of issues that's facing Houston and facing not only just Houston but around the world, because what affects Houston affects the world. So we touch on all of that, and Maurice Hope Thompson touched on all of that. I remember he had an interview with Bill Cosby. Man, that was iconic. How did he get Bill Cosby? Because he was Maurice Hope Thompson. It was like, wow, that he was just amazing, amazing. And he didn't play. He would do hard-hitting issues, and he didn't have to tiptoe and dance around stuff like we have to do today. Did I say that? Yeah, I did. Okay.
Okay, so you weren't really feeling the format in music-wise. So when you tell me about those early days at KTSU, and what position are you hired for? We didn't even say that.
He wanted me to be the change of this radio station. I was like, what? Male dominated.
It was all men working
all men. There were no females on air. All you heard was men. And I was hired to be on air. And here comes that girl who sounds white coming to our radio station. And what she's going to do is she's going to just turn it around, and it ain't going to be nobody but her friends, and then we're going to all be sounding white. I was like, where did they get that from? So it wasn't welcoming.
How did it feel to not be welcome?
Horrible. Because these are black people. I expected that from CBS radio, but it wasn't. It was worse here. Because all the other stations had women. This one was all men.
And some of them have been here for quite some time, right?
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time. And they were like, The one thing about this radio station, you take ownership of it.
Yeah.
You take ownership of it because it is a small entity, and I do. I've taken ownership of it.
What, just so we have a full sense of the history of the station, what can you say about what the format was like, thinking about genres and how they blended them together? What was it that the station had done for 30 some odd years prior to that?
The thing about this radio station, as it's 53 years young, the format's never changed.
Say more about the format.
The format has never changed. Sunday, all day gospel, all day long. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, jazz. The jazz was all straight ahead. It was straight ahead jazz. Saturday was R&B oldies. and Friday was R&B oldies, and Saturday they was trying to figure it out. Saturday really didn't have. It was just chopped up.
And I do know, speaking to some other folks at the station, a pioneering role in sort of getting some hip hop off the ground as well. I mean, this station played a major role.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I'm from the north, so I really didn't know that much about this radio station. But KTSU, and we're going to celebrate it Saturday, as this is TSU homecoming.
Yes, coming up.
And I met him. I met this group of people last year for the very first time, and I was in awe. And I told them, I said, y'all need to write a documentary. I said, because growing up where I grew up, I didn't know. I'd never heard of you all. Didn't know anything about it. KTSU introduced Houston to hip-hop. Nobody else would touch it.
Kids Jam.
Yes. The Kids Jam reunion will be on the air this Saturday.
Wow.
You got to keep that legacy alive. And I was like, wow. And so all of these guys that'll be on the air were hip hop artists, and they were on the air introducing this thing, and a lot of your on air talent, like Shelley Wade. She's international. She's international to me. She went from the East Coast to the West Coast. Now she's back to the East Coast. Mm-hmm. She came from here. And you think about the history that there's another lady that worked here back then, and I forgot her name, but she also worked for Stevie Wonder Station in L.A. Mm-hmm. She's on the air there. It's like, wow. This little bitty radio station is actually a giant.
And what do you make of this station situated within Texas Southern? Talk to me a little bit more about this campus and the culture on this campus and what it's about.
I tried to go here too a couple of times. But I finally got my master's from here, mm-hmm. which I'm so excited because now I'm officially alumni. But this station touches so many people. Right now, our incredible general manager, remember I said there was 2 people that I will never forget? Actually, that 2 people is now 4. Mm-hmm. And the 4th one is Dr. Rutley, which I would have never been here if it wasn't for him. And our current general manager, which is Ernest Walker, who is a visionary, and all this that you see now in this station is him, putting the vision that was set before him. George Thomas, who hired me, and he took George Thomas's vision and turned it into reality.
And what was that vision?
To make the station a bigger station and to incorporate more student life and to let it be not just a radio station, but a multimedia outlet. Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Walker started a program called the Access Program, where students from Texas Southern University come over and they get hands-on. Because one thing about this business, you can have a degree, but if you have not touched an equipment or know anything about it, nobody has time to teach you. You should get that while you're in school. And that's what we do. Especially, that's my thing. You got me sitting here thinking about all of the lives that I've touched through students during this part of their journey.
And that's something I read you also implemented as well, coming in to get more students the experience that they needed on air. And it wasn't always received the right way from some of the veteran DJs and on-air personalities. Right. But why is it important that HBCU students, particularly mass comm students, broadcasting students, learn this trade within an HBCU? What makes learning radio in an HBCU special?
especially if you come with the veterans such as myself, and I've had the opportunity to be on both ends of the spectrum. The demand, if you're going to, let's say, a top 40 station, you have to be the creme de la creme. And what I am focused on more, and especially this is what I love about HBCUs, what I focus on more is how you speak. I didn't know that I didn't know how to speak when I got in this business. I didn't know that. So I taught myself how to speak because I didn't have money to go to a speaking coach. I taught myself how to breathe because now it's second nature. I talk and I breathe through my diaphragm. These are things that nobody's going to tell you. And sounding generic. HBCU students have to be better than anybody else, especially now. We cannot go in mediocre and not knowing how to do anything. If I have students in here, and I do, there's a lot of students in here, I'm going to teach you everything I know because I cannot take this with me. I don't even want to take it with me. But I'm also, they call me Mama Donna. I'm also very hard. And I don't accept anything less. I'm not going to throw at you no more than what you give, I'm not going to give you more than what I can't get it out. What am I trying to say? I'm not going to put more on you that I won't put on myself. Mm-hmm. Now, going to a PWI, you're in there with a whole bunch of people. HBCUs tend to be smaller, which means that we can concentrate more on what it is that you're trying to get and what it is that you need. When you come to an HBCU, there's a certain nurturing that you get that you're not going to get from a PWI. You're a number at a PWI. I had a daughter that went to an HBCU, Grambling State, mm-hmm. and I had a daughter that went to a PWI, Stephen F. Austin. Night and day difference, night and day. Now the daughter that went to Stephen F. Austin got her MBA from Texas Southern. The daughter that went to Grambling State got her master's in social work from the University of Houston. They're well-rounded, and you got to do both. So you'll know the difference between both and get it both. But there are students that go here that need certain nurturing. Because we're a different culture. Everybody doesn't have a two-parent home. Everybody doesn't have what we all think that people that growing up should, the quote-unquote house, fence, yard, dog, all of that. Everybody in this culture doesn't have that. So when you see somebody that's in need, that's what I do. That's who I want to be. I want you to rise above because you have to. You really have to. There's no more, what is it? DEI. There's no more of that. They don't have to hire you. Certain quota, we're going to hire this person. They don't have to hire you.
Yeah, you're speaking to some of the administration right now's efforts to dismantle
all of it,
diversity, equity, and inclusion. How has that shifted your mindset now in training students and working at this station?
I'm even going to be harder on you because you can't go in half. You can't go in with 1 foot here and 1 foot there. You got to be all in, or you're wasting your time, not mine, because I already got it. You're wasting your time. And I got to tell you about my student that I absolutely love, and we still stay in contact today. And he works at a top 40 station. He's the music director. He is doing everything. And his name is Noel Velasquez. Noel came here as a freshman. Always wanted to come to Texas Southern. Been on the campus all the time. Always wanted to be here. So he came to KTSU and said, I want to intern here. Well, as a freshman, I was like, well, I want you to get used to being away from home and being in college, because college life is nothing like high school. Nobody's going to say, did you do your homework? They not. No. The holding your hand and all of that is out. It's on you to get it. Get used to being on your own. And so he looked at me and said, okay. He came back the next day with a suit, tie, shirt, resume in his hand. Miss Franklin, I would like to intern here. I was like, I said, okay. Let me see what you got. What you gonna do? We still miss him to this day. He had a show that was absolutely incredible. The entire 4 years he was here, he learned how to do everything. He went to KBRC. KBRC, yes. He's been there, and he's there. And we still keep in touch with each other.
And how does it feel to see, the fruits of your efforts? In
I
training?
love it. Yeah. I love it, love it, love it, love it.
Now, what roles have you held formally here at the station, in addition to being a non-air talent?
Well, when I first came, I started in sales. I am not a salesperson. Because you tell me no, I'm done. I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise. The answer is no? Okay, bye. I'm good. And I said, no, that's not for me. And next thing you know, I was asked to become the assistant general manager. Donna, do you want to be the assistant general manager? I was like, what? Yeah. I wasn't going to say no. And then I was like, okay. So here goes the deal. I'm here on a college campus. All I have is an associate degree. Let me see if I can finish my degree. I finished my degree in human services. It took me 15 months because I already had an associate degree. I would go to school for 15 months on the weekends, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. I was like, oh, okay. Got a degree. Donna, we're making changes. We're making you the program director. What? Really? Oh, okay. Was that in my realm of anything? No. I just enjoy what I was doing. And I still enjoy what I'm doing. And I do a lot now. I do a lot, but it's still fun. At this age, it's still fun.
Tell me what a program director does. What's the day-to-day?
Well, you go without sleep. Your phone rings in the middle of the night. No. But, gosh, I have to make sure I'm making sure that the airwaves are covered from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. I'm doing the logs for all shows. I'm also hosting. I'm also coordinating with the development department. I'm also coordinating with the marketing department to see what we need. Do we need a DJ? Do we need an on-air host? I'm also coordinating with events. What do we need? What do you need from us to do X, Y, and Z? Everything. The program director works with every department within a radio station, because nothing happens without the on-air people. Without the on-air people, you don't have a radio station. So it's all connected, and we all work together.
So I want to also ask, what is the value of this radio station, KTSU, to the people of Houston? How do you show up for the community, and what do you receive back from the community?
We are a music-intense public radio station, and we love putting on events for our community for free. We have Juneteenth all weekend long. Huge concerts all weekend long for free. We do our Jazzy Sundays, which we've partnered with Discovery Green Conservancy. And that's March, April, May, every Sunday for 3 months for free. Name artists that come and show their talents, and some are local. Everything we do is centered around our listeners, because we like giving them free events. Now, will we be able to keep that up? I don't know, because things are different. But what I can say is that we just finished our 10-day fall membership campaign, and our listeners showed up like never before. Never before. Never before have we raised $195,000 and still counting. We've never done that. So the value of this radio station, priceless. You can't put a value on it. It's priceless, because you can't get this anywhere. And our on-air talent, they're here. It's not like all the other radio stations where they're voice tracked and you hear that same voice all over the country. No. These are individuals who volunteer their time to be here for the people. And if you are a music lover, there is no music log. When I come in and do my show, I am choosing the music that I'm thinking that you might want to hear for this day. And we get to decide what it is that you want. And then when you call in or text, you can call in and make a request or text and get it done right there. Right there. Whereas before, I'm not going to say which station, you would call in and request something, and I would say, I'm going to get in trouble, but I'm going to do it anyway. But because I got tired of the same repetitions of the music. So I would get in trouble, but I don't care. I made you happy. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. And this city and this station you've had to navigate several different challenges. I'm thinking about like Hurricane Harvey, right, in 2017, or the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, and now dealing with this, the evisceration of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and those essential federal funding to public radio. How do you find it within yourself to persevere, and talk to me about how this team faces those kinds of challenges?
I'm going to tell you something. Being black is always a challenge. We have been faced with challenges our entire lives, whether they be at home or at work. We're God-fearing people. The majority of us are. Right? And we rely on that higher power to help see us through. During the storms, during the pandemic, especially the pandemic, every hour we would play an inspirational song to get you through these times, because they were bleak. We didn't know what was going on. They were bleak. And when we have these storms and you lost power, we're out in the community giving water. I remember when it was cold and people's pipes burst. Yeah. Our general manager got in our truck and we was out all night delivering water to the elderly who could not drive to come pick up some water. We would take it to those who needed it from the south side, and we had another truck on the north side. When we talk about our community and how much we love our community, I don't think nobody does it better than this station.
And we should, remember, right? This is probably a majority black listenership, and these kinds of challenges disparately face black communities, hit them harder than other communities. So it's really critical work that HBCU radio stations do in that regard. Okay, I'm going to kind of move into this last part of our interview here. I just want to know, what are you most proudest of? What accomplishment while you've been working here at KTSU are you proudest of?
That I'm still here. That I'm still here because, I'm supposed to be retired. At 67, I'm supposed to be retired, but I don't want to retire because I still love what I do. And I really don't know, because at the end of the day, I don't sit back and look at my accomplishments. And I don't relish on the things that I have done or what I don't know. My thing is this, as long as I get up and I still look forward to being here without, I got to go to work. No, I don't do that. Now, however, the battery does run down. And it's like, okay, y'all, I got to take a break. I'll see y'all next week because I need that break to rejuvenate. But, as long as I'm able to still do this with the love and passion that I have had for it all my life, and I just didn't know that was the missing link to why nothing ever worked for me, then I'm going to keep doing it.
Yeah. And what do you want your legacy to be particularly, I think, as a Black woman working in radio? Like, how do you see your legacy here at KTSU or at other stations you've worked at?
That she withstood all of this. I just put a tattoo on my back, and my tattoo says, and still, Maya Angelou, and still I rise. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I don't care how you look at it, and I tell the students here, the female students here, at the end of the day, it's still a male-dominated field run by men. We have women who have made great strides, but I don't know what's going to happen with that. But at the end of the day, men still have control over this.
And what have you learned about yourself while working at this station? How have you changed over time?
I used to be a big crybaby. You used to be able to hurt my feelings very easily. And I learned how to toughen up, and not wear my feelings on my shoulder. It grew me up to a woman that I'm very proud of.
So what words of advice would you give that younger Donna, that younger self, if you could?
Donna, everything is not personal. It's not. And stop trying to save the world. You can't. Everybody doesn't want you to save them. Help those who want your help.
We've touched on it and we've talked about the rescission, but can you reflect a little bit on the state of HBCU radio today? Why is this kind of a station? And we got to continue to communicate this out because of the threats that are being posed from the federal government and elsewhere. But what is it that is so valuable about these stations in this media landscape?
These students are here at a HBCU to learn a skill, a craft, a trade, a career. And this career is based on truth and research. These students learn how to research, and they learn how to tell the facts. They talk about erasing our history. How you gonna do that? A lot of these students come to an HBCU and they learn more about their history than they have ever learned in their lives. And you come here and they feel so good about being who they are. They're not trying to hide it. They don't want you to hide it. This is who I am. This is who I came from. That's why it is so important for HBCU radio, HBCUs, period, to stay in existence, because we're different. We're different. And at the end of the day, even though we're different, because we come from different walks of life than most, we're still all one. And if you look at an HBCU was built because black people couldn't go to college. Well, now, look at the HBCU. I'm going to tell you what happened the other day. I went to get my flu shot and my COVID shot. Yes, I get vaccines. Okay. I went to get my flu shot and my COVID shot. And the lady, I had on a Texas Southern University shirt. The pharmacist said, "You work at Texas Southern?" I said, "Yes." She said, "I graduated from their school of pharmacy." Asian lady. That's who we are. It says HBCU, but if you want to come here and you're not a melanin person, you are more than welcome to come here. Mm-hmm. That's who it's all about. Embracing each other and respecting each other's differences. How hard is that?
And you're speaking to that idea of historical erasure. I want you to reflect on this project, the HBCU Radio Preservation Project. You know, why does it matter that we are trying to preserve both the material history of HBCU radio, but also the memories, like the conversation we're having today, what individual workers within HBCU radio and communities recall and remember? Why does this matter that we carry this on?
We have to, because so long, and we've lost a lot of history from this radio station, from those who didn't archive anything. It was so much that, you know, it's gone and we can't get it back. So now we know we don't want to lose anything. We don't want to lose anything. To the part that Katrina just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Katrina. We did a 2-hour show on that. For people who survived, who were involved in that, who had to leave and start a new life. That was the most touching. Oh, Lord, that got me. Because you look at it, but all we did was look at it. They were in it. We can't lose that. We can't lose that history. That's history we'll never get. We'll never get. We have to. History is what it is. Is history always good? No. Is history ugly? Yes. Is some of it pretty? Yes. But it is what it is. Don't try to erase something to make you feel better. Come on now.
Moving towards my last couple questions, just speak a little bit to what gives your life the most meaning today, right? I think you said 67. You're moving towards the later stages of your career, maybe.
I know, right?
But you know, what else outside of this world of HBCU radio and KTSU gives you meaning?
My daughters, I hang out a lot with my daughters. My daughters are 31 and 33, and we're just going through this life together. We're like, oh, I'm not raising them. They're grown. Have they moved out? No. Can y'all find somewhere to go live? Okay, no. But I enjoy them being there. But I do want them to branch out and do their thing. But they're like, Ma, if we move, we paying more than what you pay for mortgage. I said, that ain't got nothing to do with me. But I enjoy them. And let me tell you something about this life of mine. Single. And I'm not I'm so involved in what I do that I don't have time to think about nothing else. Cause my daughter's to tell you, she's always working. She ain't never home, and I've always been like that. I think that's the love I have for what it is that I do. So what do I do? Oh, yeah, I do. When it's time for me to take a break, I'm going on a cruise. Find me on a cruise ship. I'm gone. Yeah.
Okay, well, that does bring us to the conclusion, but I do want to ask if there's anyone or anything that we have not talked about in this interview that you want to address or give a shout out to, or what have we missed? This, we don't get to everything that happened in your life in an oral history interview, but we try to do a good, comprehensive job.
I do want to say this, that even though when I first got here 16 years ago, it wasn't pleasant, but I still respect everybody who has helped make this radio station what it is and where it stands today. Because I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And I appreciate all of that history that was done before I got here. And just thank you for all of those who have had a part in the history of this great radio station we know and love called The Choice, 90.9 KTSU, your community station.
All right, I think that's a great place to leave it, Miss Donna Franklin. It's been a pleasure interviewing you today.
Pleasure's been all mine. Thank you for taking me down memory lane. Wow.
Absolutely. And we'll see you next time.